Let me take you through what I mean by strategic intent, which is one of the building block concepts about box 2, box 3 thinking. Now, let me first talk about what is not a strategic intent. Strategic intent is not the motherhood and apple pie kind of mission statements. In fact, once upon a time, my hobby used to be to collect the mission statements of Fortune 500 companies. Once I collected a few of them, I kind of quit doing it. Because once I saw a few of them, I felt perfectly comfortable I can paraphrase a typical mission statement. A typical mission statement would go something like this. We want to offer outstanding value to our customers. We want to treat our employees with respect and dignity. And we want to provide excellent returns to our stockholders. Something along those lines. CEOs feel so proud of that very imaginative statement. They typically frame it and put it in their head office. Sometimes I'm kind of tempted to go in the middle of the night and kind of steal the mission statements of Fortune 500 companies and kind of mix them up and put it back. I have a feeling when employees walk through the door next day, they're not going to say, wait a minute, that's not our mission statement. What happened to ours? Who stole ours? Therein lies three differences between a mission statement and what I want to call as an intent statement. For something to be an intent statement, it must meet three criteria. And I say the generic mission statements fail these three criteria. What are the three criteria? Criteria number one is direction. The reason why the motherhood and apple pie kind of mission statements fail this test is if you strike out the name of one company and stick in another company's name. And if it can apply to a lot of companies in my industry, then I say there is no point of view in your statement to galvanize the employees to create the future. When Dr. Muhammad Yunus says, my intent is to put poverty in a museum, that provides direction. By the way, direction is about the big picture. It's not about all the things you have to do to get there. Is the big picture visual? If it is visual, then people can get aligned behind it. The beginning of any journey should have the end in sight. Then people can march in that direction. That is the sense in which I say the generic mission statements fail the test of direction. The second criteria is motivation, passion. Think about it this way. Suppose the CEO of Ford Motor Company stands up and says, our mission in life is to maximize stockholder wealth. Suppose you're an employee of Ford and you heard these words from the CEO. How much passion does it create? Are you telling yourself in the morning, my God, I can't wait to jump out of bed today and go to work so that I can add to the stockholders' pockets? Even if you want stock in Ford, probably that's not the reason why you wake up excited. We need to create a compelling reason for each and every employee in our organization to wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I can't wait to get to work because my capabilities mean so much to my team. What I'm doing there at work has so much personal meaning for me. That kind of personal meaning you cannot derive by only putting financial goals in front of the organization. The third criteria is challenge. I say good employees like to do something bold. Good employees don't want to just keep on doing the same thing over and over again. Think about it this way. How often have you gone back from work and told your spouses or partners that I'm absolutely excited to tell you I did mediocre work in the office today? If direction, motivation, challenge is what we need in a strategic intent, what would be a good example of a strategic intent? Here is one. Think about it this way. In the early 60s, when John F. Kennedy stood up and said, we will put a man on the moon and bring him back before the end of this decade, Why do you think the country got so charged up? Let me share with you my thoughts. Let's look at the first criteria, direction. Contrast the man on the moon statement with another statement he could have made. We want to become the aeronautical leaders in the world. I want you to think about which statement provides direction and why. Certainly, the man on the moon has such a visual component because all of us, we see a moon every day. Somebody is going to go there and come back. I can understand what you're talking about. I can tell my 5-year-old what I do in office. She will understand what I do. Contrast that with outstanding in aeronautics. Again, think about motivation, passion. What is it about that man on the moon statement which got people so charged up? Remember, in the 50s, we had the Cold War. Soviet Union had already taken the first shot in the space race. Yuri Gagarin, Sputnik, they put someone in orbit. What JFK is saying is, I'm going to settle the technological scorecard once and for all. Who is number one in the world? US or Soviet Union? That gets people pumped up. Challenge. Certainly you will agree with me, there is a huge challenge in the man on the moon statement. Nobody has done this. In fact, scientific community put the probability we can do it at 20%. Optimistic probability, if I might add. There was a good 80% chance we cannot do it. Strategic intent is about thinking big. It is about dreaming big. It's about having big ambition, big aspiration, an unrealistic goal. Now, why do you need an unrealistic goal to do a good job in box 2, box 3? It is common sense. Why? Because as human beings, our performance is a function of our expectations. We rarely exceed our expectation. Suppose your ambition is to create a $500 ECG machine, as GE attempted to do. And if you try very hard, you may end up creating a $1,000 ECG machine. But on the other hand, if you start with a realistic goal of the $20,000 ECG machine that you fully understand and want to make it more efficient, you are never going to end up with a $1,000 ECG machine. Yet, I want you to think about how many processes we have in organizations. Goal setting process, performance evaluation process, which panders to mediocrity. Think about 2 managers in a company. One manager says, I can grow this business at 150% a year for the next 5 years. But unfortunately, ends up growing that business only at 145%. There is another manager out here who says, I can grow this business at 1% a year for the next 5 years. Then beats the budget, beats the target, beats the goal, and gives you 2% growth. Which manager deserves the bonus? Which manager ends up getting the bonus? We have so many processes which puts limits on human beings, doesn't open up possibilities. Think about how many conversations you have in your organizations about budgets met or not met. How many conversations you have in your organization about opportunities unlocked, markets created, non-consumers converted into consumers. What I'm basically saying is, if your organization has to be a great organization in the future, first you have to imagine that greatness. If all that you can imagine is a mediocre company, in the future, that is the best you will end up doing. Every word in JFK's statement is extremely powerful. But one of those words I particularly like, which is, we will. That is a confident statement about the future. JFK didn't say, we want to put a man on the moon. He didn't say, we will try our level best to put a man on the moon. He said, we will put a man on the moon. I want you to think about this question. Future is unpredictable. Future is unknowable. And what I'm saying is, despite that, you must imagine the future. But imagine it not tentatively. Imagine it with confidence. Imagine it with conviction. Why is it so important for leaders to not only imagine the future, but imagine it with confidence?